Good afternoon. Last week we were discussing the predictive time cycles of markets like the E-mini S&P, oil futures, Bitcoin, GE, Apple, Tesla, all of the most popular markets. And I took the um, opportunity to go back last week and keep track of what we were saying was likely to happen. There's been a lot of chatter today on the different trading groups that I'm a member of regarding no one saw this rally coming. Do we have any idea when it's going to end? And earlier in the week, if you were here last week, especially, I had shown you this chart. You'll notice the time and the date in the upper left-hand corner. And at the time, the signal that we were waiting for, and we've been waiting for this signal for a couple months. We've been tracking the ES now fairly regularly on a daily time frame. The signal at the time that we were tracking was scheduled for the next run up on June 8th. And if you'll remember from the webinar a week prior, we had been waiting for a run on May 25th, and we had been waiting for a run on May 15th before that. And so in each of those instances, you can see there's sort of this substantial move up in between the launch of the signal and the next time. In fact, there's been 4 or 5 or 6 of those out of the last 6 predictive times. And one of the ways that I use these webinars in this platform to acquire credibility with you, understanding that 98% of what's available online is full-on cow crap, is to sort of put my money where my mouth is and tell you what we think based on the software we've developed for the last 15 years is going to happen. And so if you'll remember at the time, we were looking at the S&P in the context of an uptrend. And how do we identify the uptrend in relation to time cycles? Back in the early 20th century, a man named Richard Wyckoff developed essentially a structure that defined accumulation and distribution phases. And in the case of an accumulation phase, you'll see that Wyckoff had sort of identified the structure of how an uptrend starts and stops. And we generally begin with what he called an accumulation phase that had sort of a spring. He called it a spring. I call it a stop run. He called it a spring. But you'll notice in the context of an uptrend that there are these squiggly back and forth phases of an uptrend. And I've overlaid where I perceived to be the location of our time cycles historically. And so when we get to a consolidation phase in an uptrend, what's historically happening is that new entrants are arriving in the trend, the people who missed that original move up, and they're buying at the base of the move. And then at the top of the reaccumulation phase, people are taking profits. The early adopters, the ones who've been participating since the throwback or the bottom of the spring. And what's always curious to me is how those patterns align with what actually takes place in the market. So if you look at my screen right here, and I mentioned this last week, we were experiencing a reaccumulation phase just before that predicted run up. And so here we can sort of see the box that I drew and identified, and the software was alerting us, hey, bud, it's time for the push up out of that reaccumulation phase that we had predicted the week before in the webinar. And so I use these webinars now as sort of a placeholder, because now we can come back and see, based off of what we were discussing last week, what in fact really happened. And so this is extremely encouraging for me, because as a developer, I spend a tremendous amount of time reading what other people are struggling with and going through when they're trying to trade on their own with what I perceive to be a sort of blind, gambling-like, stumbling around in the dark approach. The only reasons these times are on my chart is because the time cycles exist. They're not coming out of my rear end because of some guru-like spidey sense, rear end tingling, discretion loaded feeling. The only reason these times exist on this chart, the only reason we're watching for June 22nd and June 28th and July 6th and July 17th is because these cycles are recurring. They're behavior patterns in the market. And so it's not a shock or a surprise to see these moves occurring where they are occurring. My name is Michael. I am the founder of Back to the Future Trading. I and my best friend and partner, Ron, we worked together for the last 15 years to equip futures, forex, equities, and now crypto traders, equip them with a new type of trading edge, a powerful enough and successful enough edge that we've garnered a 4.7 out of 5.0 as of today Trustpilot rating, actual trading customers with receipts not associated with our company, which is sort of highly unusual, but no less unusual than the approach that we take. You see, I know that this works so well, and I've seen it work so well with our customers, that when it comes time for the webinar, I've already published the predictive times for Wednesday and Thursday in advance. Before we ever get here, I've sort of laid the gauntlet down on the road. Markets like the E-mini S&P, the Euro US dollar, Ethereum and Bitcoin, oil futures, gold futures. For 2 days, European and US sessions. I'm so confident, and have seen it work so many times now, over 600 webinars in the last 13, 14, 15 years now. I've lost track. And we come together on Thursday, just like we've come together today, to see what happened at the last daily bar prediction, to see if the signals work. Most people looking at charts, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 years, or 50 years, are sort of clueless. They're chasing a tiger with an elusive, semi-translucent tail. They're reading in the news. 1 week, Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan says there's a recession coming. The next week, Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan says, what recession? 1 week, everything's fine with the banks. And then the next week, the banks are trillions of dollars underwater from purchases they made when interest rates were low. And so we try to look at the data logically. We abandon the Spock or the Captain Kirk-like emotions. Got ahead of myself there. We abandon the Captain Kirkian trading method, the ones where you're told you have to keep a trading journal for 48 years and live in a cave with a guru. You have to meditate before you sit down, and then fight your fight or flight response. And we look at the data and say, hey, this is information. What's inside of that information? What is the data trying to tell us? There's nothing really chaotic in nature. We live in an extremely ordered and near clockworkian universe. Everything has a time and a season down to nanoseconds, the way molecules vibrate, the way fish move between their spawning grounds and feeding grounds, and the way humans buy and sell stocks and commodities and equities and futures. So when we look in the data historically, we don't see chaos. We ask questions. I don't sit here and say, well, I have to track the MACD and I have to have my book map on and what's the local support and resistance level and there must be a supply zone here. I ask the computer, hey, when does oil get pushed up more often than not lately? When does the S&P go up way more often than it should at a certain time lately? Are there any times where Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse and JP Morgan are pushing prices higher or lower? And the algorithm, before AI was a buzzword, and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Sergey and all of the billionaire class brainiacs freaked out, we were doing it. We were using the data, learning from the historical patterns of the past to predict the future. We don't believe in randomness. I don't sit here wondering what the Fed will say. I don't sit here wondering what the GDP will reveal or what the unemployment report might be. The world is a crappy place. People are fired all the time, more some than others lately, more so now than before, less maybe in the future. Everything is happening, though, according to someone's plan. Someone in a mahogany office with an 80-inch television and rich Corinthian leather seats. Those are the people that I'm interested in studying. What are their patterns? What are their behaviors? What are they thinking? What are they telling everybody before they do the opposite thing? And so it's a kind of bold experiment. I've done it now for a long time. I'm that singer that you loved growing up, who sings your favorite song at every concert over and over and over again. Only I don't ever get sick of singing this song. I get the privilege of publishing these times in advance, like the E-mini S&P 5-minute and 3-minute, oil on a 3-minute and 1-minute, gold on a 5-minute, the DAX, the euro currency, the Dow, the NASDAQ on a 1-minute, the euro and the pound dollar and Ethereum. I get to tell everybody what I'm pretty sure is going to happen and then come back together and analyze with you whether or not the thing we were waiting for actually took place. How's everybody doing right now? How's the pace of the webinar? Too fast, too slow, just right? I had a caffeinated beverage right before, and I can't really gauge sometimes if I'm moving too quickly or not fast enough for some of you. Everybody all good so far? Tell me if I've lost some of you. Good in the UK. Hey, Rich, thank you. One of the things that's important to keep track of and remember is we are part of something wonderful and highly organized, incredibly designed or evolved. The things that happen on a molecular level, on an ecosystem level, the audacity that we have to believe that something as simple as a marketplace is somehow outside of, apart from unrelated to, disconnected from the laws that govern how everything works everywhere else in the known universe. The James Webb Telescope revealing the deepest of secrets in the last several months, the things that we're learning in quantum physics in terms of entanglement and how two particles can be connected across miles, if not light years apart, are opening up possibilities for the things that we've only dreamt and imagined in our most visionary sci-fi films and movies and television shows. And the person who keyed in on this information the earliest was a guy from a farm. A guy from a farm back in the 1900s at the onset of the Industrial Revolution, as man and women were gods of their universe, lords of their dominions. Gann looked back into the world that had sustained us for centuries. And when asked how he was able to make such profitable trades in front of people, documented by the most trustworthy of observers, he said, Gann bases his trades upon certain natural laws existing since the world began. The laws of nature were a key moment for Gann in his realization of why markets go up or down. And in this very cursory example, I have one of the most liquid stocks by volume, a company you might have heard of called Apple, started by a very ostentatious curmudgeon of a miserable human being, Mr. Steve Jobs, who, by all accounts of people I know in the semiconductor industry, was a real jerk, was also documented to be pretty much the worst father and or husband you could imagine. His legacy, though, lives on tiny screens all over the world that our husbands and wives watch while we're trying to tell them important things in the evening, watching so many TikToks. But here's what I want you to remember. Every one of the green dots on this daily chart for Apple represents a first quarter moon phase. Now, for those of you that have no clue what a first quarter moon phase, it's when you walk out at night and there's no clouds and precisely half the moon is visible. It's half full. And if you look at this small diagram here, you'll see what I'm referencing in this chart, which is based on natural laws. And all we're doing on this chart is keeping track of when that first quarter phase is and when that third quarter phase is. There's another cycle here. There's the full moon and the new moon. We're not going to get into that one today, but we could just as easily obsess over that time-based cycle. But what I wanted you to see is what's happening with the stock price of Apple in between the first quarter and the third quarter. Because it's one of those weird natural laws that Gann wrote about and was interviewed about over 100 years ago. And if you were just looking for calls with the price of Apple, we could go back further and further and further into the past, and you can see the majority of the times, Andy, the price of Apple goes up most of the time. There's another cycle somewhere over here. We just don't have enough data loaded. And so this begins to raise a lot of questions. Well, what was the GDP around that time? What was the unemployment rate? What was the price of rice in China at the time? I don't know. All I know is that if you bought Apple at a third quarter phase and you got out, or first quarter and you got out by the third, the last how many times in a row? What is this, 6 or 7? The price was higher 8 days later. And all I had to do was walk outside at night before I went to bed and go, yeah, that's half full right there. We can also come back and look at other markets with our data mining tool. For example, a lot of you are SPY traders. And the same tools that we use with our data mining strategy are applicable as well. SPY right now, we had an alert on May 10th for the next bull run. The prior alert was on March 9th. This signal on SPY lasts until June 30th. The next run is expected to start on March 17th until, July 17th until August 30th. The markets are predictive, and most of you are trading like that's impossible. It could never be. Here we have that same first quarter, third quarter phase with NVIDIA. And we can use a strategy that I'm about to teach you here in a moment to look for calls and breakouts in the direction of the trend all day long. I could tell you where the longs were based on these signals where you see green arrows. These were all places that we knew predictively to look for longs in NVIDIA. And I know exactly how long this move will last because the laws of nature is dictating when to look for the next signal. Predictive markets are how the greats used to trade. See, before the advent of online marketing and gurus, we had men who were manly men, the traders, the juggernauts, the titans that most of us inordinately, unbeknownst to us even sometimes, follow. Ralph Elliott saying, hey, markets are predictive. You can project where markets will go and when they will move with a certainty previously unattainable. Did you know that? Elliott didn't want you to look for double bottoms and double tops and butterfly patterns and Gartley waves and blah, 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 blah. He wanted you to know that markets were predictive. You could project where they were going. Gann, he's the biggest knucklehead of the three, and he's like, don't pay attention to Elliott. Don't listen to Wyckoff. Time is the most important factor. And you can predict when moves are going to begin and end. Wyckoff, of course, he says, hey, I don't look at anything but volume and price action. But after interviewing Gann, he starts to pay attention to time. This is maybe I should look for volume moves at these predictive times. These guys all believed in predictions, how markets were likely to go up or down. So let's talk a little bit about how we can take these signals and trade them, right? That's kind of why we're all here. Can you make money with it, or is it a relatively useless thing? And the way that I prove this boils down to the setup versus the signal. The signal is the raw information, right? The signal says, hey, these are the times that we're watching for buying and selling. The blue lines are times we're watching for selling in the future. The white lines are times we're watching for buying in the future. And you've had this since Tuesday. These times have been published. Hundreds, thousands of traders have been following along to watch to see if we will fall on our face today. These are the signals. The setup is what we do with the signals when we get to them. If I say 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on Friday Eastern will be a buying signal, what do I do with that? How big is my stop? When do I enter? When do I exit? Where do I go to break even? And in the emails that I send out and on the forecast page, I teach a very specific setup. Not that it's the only way to trade with it, it's just the simplest. And the older I get, the more I'm a fan of simplicity. The more I understand why older people get condos with no lawns, no rakes that they have to use for the leaves. Simple is better. It's easier. And the first setup that I teach you is called a signal with trend. And we're going to look at this on several different markets that we had predictive times for. And I'll show you. It's easier. It's more relaxing. It's less anxious when you know the moves are coming at a certain time. You know how long they have typically to go. So we're going to enter at the close of the bar of the predictive time signal if it's in the direction of the trend. The trend is a 120 period exponential moving average. Why is it that? Because we started with it 15 years ago and I never changed it. Vendors who change stuff week to week should be isolated and shamed because they're curve fitting. My stop is set to a dynamic stop. In this case, 1.5 average true range values ATR away. The ATR indicator was invented by Wells Wilder of the 1980s as a means of understanding how big a bar was lately. How big does a 5-minute bar go on average lately? Is it 20 ticks? Is it 200 ticks? What's the size of a 5-minute bar right now? We put our stop 1 bar plus 50% away. 1.5 ATR, 1.5 ATR. Can you make it smaller? Sure. Are you a player and a baller and you want to make it bigger? Yeah. Don't go more than 3. And generally, try not to go less than 1. 1 ATR is market noise. Most market technicians will argue that anything less than 1 ATR is noise. Anything more than 3 is a trend reversal. So we want to kind of be somewhere in that window of a stop. If you're not using a dynamic stop and the market gets really horny really quickly, you're using a 4-tick stop and the ATR is 20 ticks or 60 ticks, you're going to lose. It's just a matter of time. We're going to exit by the close of the opposite signal. We enter and we exit by the close of the opposite signal. Enter and we exit by the close of the opposite signal. This is called a signal with trend setup. Pretty complicated, right? Well, why don't you take a third order derivative Fibonacci retracement on a 15 4 Renko chart with multiple 1.618 extensions? You don't have to. You don't have to. It's simple. What's the next setup? The next setup is called a crossover. It's called a crossover. Why? Well, what if the signal starts out below the moving average and a candle crosses over and closes above the moving average? Well, you put your stop 1 to 2 ticks below the crossover candle, you enter at the close just like before, and you exit by the opposite signal. This is called a crossover signal or setup. It becomes a trend entry. It's one of the rules I gave you 2 days ago. Then there's the weirdest one. This is called a puncture. A puncture is a breakout or a failure with trend. So imagine every day for the last 3 days, the E-mini S&P drops at 10 o'clock. Imagine for the last 3 days, the S&P goes up and at 10 o'clock, it falls to the second to the tick. Now imagine the trend is up. It's the next day, 24 hours in the future. And we get to 10 o'clock. And Bala, imagine we get to 10 o'clock. Chris, what are we waiting for? What should happen if the pattern repeats? It should drop. Well, Bala, what happens if it starts to do this? Or maybe even starts to do this? What is that telling us, Andy, about the behavior pattern, the entrenched, established behavior pattern, and the possible actions or intentions of the people that were doing this? What's happening or not happening today? They're not following through. They're withdrawn. The behavior pattern has eroded. They're not stopping the trend. They are not putting short orders into the market. What are you doing? Why have you oh, you want it to go higher. Ah, I see. Is it safe for me to put a buy order over here then? If you're not selling, does not selling equal yes buying? That's the premise of the puncture trade. Does not selling equal yes buying? And so what I learned is that if the trend is up and we arrive at a selling pressure behavior time, there's a stop, Andy, that's 1.5 average true range values away. And what I'm expecting it to either consolidate like a distribution phase or a reaccumulation phase, or Andy, I'm expecting it to do this, right? Because that's what this dot represents, an established behavior pattern. Well, Lisa, whoops, let's not do that. What if it starts to do this? Does not selling equal yes buying? So what I did in the rule set that I gave you with the histogram times is I said, hey, we're going to put a buy stop just on the other side of the line. If it moves 1 bar plus 50% bar away, I want to get in. And so I'm going to enter right here. I'm going to put my stop below the candle that went through the line. It's a lot like a crossover trade, right? And Andy, when am I going to get out? When the next buy time arrives. I'm going to hold this until the end of the time cycle, just like a moon phase. There's a time cycle. I'm in it. Everything that has a beginning has an end, Neo. You remember that from the movie The Matrix? Keanu Reeves and the Oracle. Everything that has a beginning has an end. So here we go. This is what happened in the E-mini S&P today. These were the times. Like Billy Joel said in his not so popular album, "This is the time to remember." Great song. I don't do it justice. At 9 o'clock, we have a buying pressure signal. It is below the 120 period moving average. What do? Nothing until the crossover. At 9:06, the candle crosses over the moving average and we enter. It goes about 2 points in our favor and finishes 1 tick from where we started for a gain. At 9:30, we're above the moving average and the market is in a range, a reaccumulation range. It has to end. When do they step aside? At the puncture candle at 9:42. We enter the market at 44.1475. Our stop is one tick underneath the low at 44.1250. And now we know we have this many minutes until the trade is over. At 9:54, we exit the puncture trade with a gain of $17.75, and we didn't panic at all. We knew when to get in and how long to stay in. We did not listen to the demonic voices in our head that say, get out now, get out now, get out now. At 9:54, we have a signal in the direction of the trend, and it even matches the diagram. It even looks remarkably like the diagram that I've been showing you for years. If the move starts at 9:54, we're going to get out by 11:09. But Michael, there were so many retracements and triple tops along the way. I don't care. I couldn't tell you what the report was today. I don't care. It's camouflage. It's noise. It's a smoke screen. It's an emotional minefield. I don't watch what you knuckleheads are saying in your discords. Ugh. It's 9:54. That dot is there because this is what they've been doing lately on a Friday. I enter the market at 44.33 and I exit at the close of the 11:09 signal. That's a $10 move. If you're keeping track, that's $27 from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, which is when I'm usually done by. But because some of you ask, what happened after 11 o'clock? We're going to keep going. There was a puncture and it came down and hit the stop, -2, womp womp. There was another puncture and it came down and hit its stop for -1, womp womp. Two failed punctures. It did go up, but it came back down. Had a signal with trend at 12:03. It's lunchtime. We're counting it. We finished with a tick. 12:48. We enter with the direction of the trend. We finish with a loss, -475. Bala, you do pester me. You own the software. You have access to the training, and you come in my sales webinars and you literally ask 48 questions. Instead of waiting for me to finish the sales presentation and email me, or send me a Skype, or send me a text. It's like I'm having a psychotherapy session, and just as I'm about to have a aha moment about my mother, you come in and say, hey, has anyone seen the coffee filters? It's kind of weird, dude. So in the future, respectfully, can you please wait? My settings are always the same, and you know this. My settings are always 7/14/00 calendar days with a swing strength of 8. I feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day when you guys ask me what my settings are. I literally haven't changed them in over 10 years. They're the same on any intraday chart. Swing strength 8, 7/14/00. Does anyone have any more coffee filter questions? I was in a good groove too. Had a nice baseline going. And seen. Next signal is a puncture. At 1:30, we enter and we exit, $7 move. 1:48, we enter and we exit, 3/4 of a tick, of a point rather. And so by 3:15, I'm done and we're in profit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 winners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losers. The losers are about a half or a third the size of the winners. Same thing happened on a 5-minute chart. plus 14, plus 19, plus 2, minus $1.50, plus $15. And if you traded after 3:30 today, we might as well count that to be consistent. It was minus 11. These signals work consistently day after day after day after day. Here's the overnight session. If you're trading London signals, you can see we were looking for shorts in the direction of the trend with a stop here and a crossover here in the Asian session. Yesterday, if we were looking at the signals, here's the Asian session short from 8 o'clock to 9:50 last night, long with a stop out, long with a gain, long with a break, short with a break even. Here's yesterday's movements. Let me ask you a question. If I gave you the times for Wednesday in advance, and you had them in advance, if I told everybody on Tuesday night what the moves were going to be for the E-mini S&P from 2:30 Eastern in the morning till 4:30 in the close, and Andy and your friends, if we came back after that and saw the move up at 235, the high at 420, this move here, the down move at 540, the up move at 635, the down move at 725, the move up into 950, the up move at 11 o'clock, the down move at 12 o'clock. Here's a redistribution phase right here. And there was something called the Federal Reserve report, down from 220 until 245 and then down at 345. How did we know this? And just to repeat, this is a 7/14/00 calendar days with a swing strength of 8. Default software values. A lot of you have your number set to 5, change it to 8 if you're following along in the webinar. But if we followed those rules, right, that's not even counting the shorts this morning in the Euro session, short from 445 until 525 for $4, short from 625 until 820 for a whopping $1.50 more. And here's the thing, I have the times right now for tomorrow. They're here already. Does your software do that? Does your amazing trading platform, do you have TradingView? Does this work for TradingView? Do you have anything on TradingView that tells you in the future with 60 to 70% accuracy when the times are coming for tomorrow? Some of you are furiously screenshotting this right now. I'm going to follow these times tomorrow to see if it happens again. It's so hard to convince you. And then many of you leave and don't believe what you saw. It's too good to be true. It's impossible. If we look at the NASDAQ on a 1-minute chart, the market that eats most of your faces every morning, you can see all of the setups and the signals. If the signals are on if the recording is on the bottom, it's a loss. If it's recorded on the top, it's a win. And so if you look here, basically around 8:30, when I was keeping track for a customer, by lunchtime, if you followed those setups, here's lunchtime, right? From 8 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock Eastern, if you followed it, you were up $2,600. Signal with trend, signal with trend, signal with trend, signal with trend, puncture, puncture, signal with trend, puncture, signal with trend, signal with trend, crossover, crossover. $2,600 in the NASDAQ. But I don't understand. I gave you the times. When? On Tuesday. For when? Thursday. If we go to my website and we look at the domain server and we see when this page was published, when that link was burned into the firmament of the solid state drives at the GoDaddy University, you will see that these times, this chart, every pixel on this graphic has existed since Tuesday. Since Tuesday. And when we arrived all through Tuesday, all through Wednesday into Thursday, and applied 3 little picky-uni rules, it's $2,600. And we knew exactly when the signals were coming. We knew exactly how long the windows of time were. There's nothing anxious about it. We didn't overtrade. And if you were overseas and you said, hey, I want to trade, I'm in London, I'm in Australia, I'm in Lithuania, take the shorts on the way down. Does it work in uptrends and downtrends? Here's this morning before I woke up. Here's this morning after I woke up. What's happening at the time signals that I gave you 2 days ago? And what mystifies me, maybe someone can help me. When you were all, yeah, during the webinar, and then when we call you, when we email you and say, hey, are you interested in moving forward on this and using it in your life? Are you interested in being the guy who makes $2,800 tomorrow? The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Hi, I'm not available right now. Leave a message and I'll call you back. You disappear like farts in the wind. Poof. It's scary. Some of you are like, oh, what'll I do tomorrow if I know the times in advance? What'll I do if I don't know how to panic tomorrow? What if I'm in my room and the guru has a different idea? Well, I paid a lot of money for my other software. Michael, I'm looking at a 45 tick range bar, a 3,500 volume bar. I watch a daily, a 60, a 30, a 15, a 5, and a 1 minute chart. Yeah, man, it's just too simple. I don't know what I would do if I knew tomorrow when the moves are likely to occur. And so you disappear. You disappear from existence. Here's a pound dollar. This is forex. Do you trade forex? Are you watching our video from home and you're saying to yourself, man, I trade spot FX. Forex traders usually drive a 1982 Honda Accord with a rabbit's foot and a deodorizer air freshener hanging from the rearview mirror. They have a $300 account. They got a cat poster in their office that says, hang in there. There's a kitten hanging from a branch. I can help you. Forex is worse. It's even more manipulated than the S&P, than oil, than gold, than the NASDAQ and Tesla. Governments, the most corrupt body of traders in the world. If you took the crossover today on the pound dollar, using the times that the software warned us about, you were long at 820 Eastern. Well, how long am I going to hold this trade? Till 1040. In at 405, out at 505, in at 505, out at 630, in at 630, out at 725, in at 725, out at 820. Well, when was that information in the public domain? Because many of my prior experiences are with disreputable vendors, and it was available on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we told you what the times would be for these different pairs, for these different markets. And here we are 2 days later with a simple system. The trend is your friend. Oh, and there was a puncture right here. Puncture. Does not selling equal yes buying? Yes. Long, long. Well, what are the times in the future? Well, I got them. I bet you these times disappear and reappear, and they print later, and they're probably uh, amorphous, and they vanish in the middle of the night. Nope. No signals ever disappear or repaint or print later. 100 years from now, if we come back with a hard drive filled with 100 years of pound dollar data, these times will be exactly where they are. Truth is scary. Well, why are you even selling this? You must be a billionaire by now. All the usual objections, right? Doesn't matter why I'm selling it. I gave you the times 2 days ago, and it did this. Did you catch that move? You know where you got in that move? Either you didn't, because you didn't know, or you probably got in right here at that little pullback and then took 10 ticks and sweat the entire time. Why are you doing the harder thing? It's hard. You can look at oil on a 3-minute chart. When do I buy oil? Knowing what you know about the system that I taught you, when would you buy oil and when would you exit? Well, when were those times available? Since Tuesday. These were the times that we've been watching since Tuesday for on oil. Well, what about the crisis in the Crimean Peninsula? I don't care. Some guy at JP Morgan had a plan. Well, what do? We follow our plan loosely based on their plan. I enter here, I get stopped out. I enter here, I exit with a win. I enter at the puncture, not selling equals yes buying, and I win. I enter a signal with trend, and I win. I enter a signal with trend, and I leave with what I came with, basically. And I knew the times in advance. Well, surely we have no idea what tomorrow could bring because of the Saudi consortium and the restrictions on oil flow production. And I don't know how you guys do it that way anymore. I used to do it. I think half my hair that I lost was trading the way some of you still trade. Here are the times for tomorrow. They're just sitting there. It's a schedule. It's like an airport. 524 now departing for lower prices. Sir, how long is this plane in the air? We arrive at 6:03 and buyer land. All the times are here. They're there. Does this look like oil was a random market to you? Look at where the signals were warning us moves might occur. What percentage of the time did we get in and the market moved in our direction right away? And here's another scary thought. It wasn't just today. It happened yesterday too. If you thought today was great, look at what was predicted yesterday. Were you in the drop at 10:45? Were you in the drop at 9:33 and the retracement at 10:09? Were you in the afternoon sell-off at 1:04 until 2:27? Stopped out at lunchtime? Were you in that small counter trend correction at 11:12? Were you in the move up when oil opened at 9:03 until 9:33? Were you in the pre-market drop from 7:36 until 8:15? Oh, you weren't? Aw, you didn't catch that move up at 6:03? Your guru didn't know that? Or did he trade it on his secret monitor that you can't see because he's not really a guru, he's got a marketing degree from Berkeley? This is the reality of the world. It's not what you were told or taught, right? This is the reality. Every day that you wake up and think, I've got a chance. I'm smart. I went to college. I started a business. I have a thriving ecosystem of XYZ. My computer is from tradingcomputers.com, falcontradingcomputers.com. I could play video games that Jesus has in heaven. There's such a large processor. Goldman Sachs has a data cable the size of your head across the river in New Jersey. They've put fiber optic cables from New York to London on their own dime to get their orders there microseconds before yours, using black box strategies that are probably illegal. Their algorithms are based on psychological profiling. The government pulls thousands of millions of bytes of data on people and their behavior patterns, and you don't think they have access to all those things and know what to make the markets look like to get you to buy and sell? But I'm sure you have a chance. We did the math once. You have a better chance of being an Army Ranger than you do of being a successful trader. It's not fair. It's rigged. There's no other way these times will appear where they appear. And yeah, there's some failures. It's not 100%. I'm not Elizabeth Holmes or Bernie Madoff. I don't have all the answers, right? I don't, should I say it? I'll probably say it. I'll get in trouble for saying it. I don't have top secret classified documents. I have the same historical data you have. And when the algorithm just filters it through the worldview of cheating, when the algorithm says, hey, computer, analyze the data as though the big banks are cheating and tell me when they're going to cheat again, that's what I get. And it's better than 90% of anything you've ever purchased. And I know because I see the indicators you guys have bought when I do the installations for some of you. Dozens and dozens of them. Aren't you tired? It's not going to work 100% of the time, but boy, is it a lot less stressful than how you used to do it. And can you imagine 10, 20% of the time getting in a winner like 11.12 until 11.54? And you're riding it the whole way and they're saying, get out, Bill, get out. Not now. Get out, Bill. Not yet. When are you getting out? I'm getting out now. And it's a $2,300 winner. Every psychological trigger you have is predisposed to failure in trading. Every single one. There isn't a piece of you that lends itself well to risk. And that's all this is. You're literally sticking your hand in a fire and betting it's not going to burn your skin this time. And so you're predisposed to making the worst decisions. Not only do you burn your hand, your foot, your butt, your pants, your hair, and you look back at the next guy and go, oh, that was crazy, am I right? Am I right? When we look at some of the bigger markets, now we're looking at markets like Bitcoin, right? Does anyone trade crypto anymore? Oh yeah, that was just the first wave of failure, right? We can look at markets like Bitcoin and we can see whether it's a 5-minute chart or a 60-minute chart. We can see where those moves are likely to occur. Does Bitcoin look random to you? Here's what I know about the chart, looking at it the way that I'm looking at it, Dave. The minute they punched through that blue line, that was not selling equals yes buying. And the minute it went through this line, I could have reversed my order. And now I can be long in Bitcoin futures until 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. I could have also been in that short and in this long and gotten break even here. I could have done lots of things. Does Bitcoin look random to you? No. There's a manipulation involved. And here's the thing. The times are waiting like a bus schedule. Are they going to be 100% of the time? No, but they'll be at least this accurate because that's what it's always done. And that's why I was saying we can take markets like the ES and like SPY and like the NQ on a daily chart, and we can sort of know with relative confidence what's coming. I can also see, for example, if I look at this histogram, there's some turbulence here. What do you mean by that? Look how close these lines are together. None of the lines were that close. June 15th, June 22nd, June 28th. What do you think is going to happen up here? All the lines got tighter and closer together. The market doesn't have as much time to mature. The trend is sort of constrained. It's retarded. It's not able to advance. We only have a 7-day window. Any questions? The settings are 7/14/00 with a swing strength of 8 calendar origination days. Yeah. Tesla, the call that we made was on May 31st. The prior call was on May 15th. And now we're here June 13th until June 22nd. There are no plans to put this on a platform that does not support predictive signals. Kelly, when a company like TradeStation or Sierra Chart sits down to develop their platform, fun fact, do you know what they don't give you the ability to do as a developer? Put anything over here. Did you know that? Kelly, if you try to develop a program for another platform, they literally do not think an indicator should be to the right side of the present bar. And so from a coding perspective, you can't put anything here. TradingView, Sierra Charts, TradeStation, blah, 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 blah. You can have as many lagging indicators as you want. And those indicators will tell you what just happened. So Kelly, you can log in and TradeStation or TradingView or Sierra Charts will say, hey, did you know the volume was 15,000 shares just now? Really? Can you tell me anything about the future? No. What is the future? There is this bar and everything in the past. There is no future. I'm looking into my code. There's no future. Oh, well, how do people trade then if they don't know what to look for in the future? Isn't that what the whole game is about? Computer shuts down, catches fire. The platforms are not suited, are not designed for, do not allow for predictive signals, which is funny to me because the most profitable people in the world have been using predictive signals for almost 2 centuries. It wasn't just Gann, by the way. There was somebody else who was looking at moon cycles 150 years ago. The OG, the first international financier, used predictive signals. Used it and used it and used it and bought more railroads, more mansions, more senators, more congressmen, more presidents. Full moon, he bought a few more, a couple more after that. And yet, if you ask a company to allow you to draw predictive signals and make estimates in the future for a game that's based on where price will be in the future, they'll laugh at you. Except one, the one that keeps winning awards every year. Trading shouldn't be hard. So NinjaTrader has been incredible over and over again, accommodating our requests. Hey, can we put this here? Can we put that there? Sure. We just got to change some code. So no, but don't let that be the excuse. And almost 2 decades now, that's always the excuse. It's like, hey, is this available for MetaTrader 5? No. Rats. Okay. Leaves with frowny face. Makes no money. Hey, does this work with the platform that I was using for no other reason than that was what I was using at the time? No. Oh, well, I can't use your stuff then. That's such a weird excuse. It's like, we have a life-saving drug here. Well, did Pfizer make it? I only take Pfizer drugs. No, this is from Moderna. As long as it's not Johnson & Johnson, that's another story. But you know, this drug will save your life. Well, it's not from Pfizer. I can't ingest it. It's not good. All right. 2 minutes later. I'm sorry for the rant. I'm very sorry for the rant. But it doesn't matter what market we look at. It doesn't matter what stock we look at. It all comes down to the same thing. I've sort of shown you over and over again here, day after day, profit trade after profitable trade. We make more than we lose. Our winners are about twice as big as our losses when we trade with the trend. Do you have to trade with the trend? No. Can you use it to pick highs and lows and bottoms and tops? Sure. That's just one way. But the reality is they're doing this every day. No matter what platform you're looking at, every day. Tomorrow when you wake up, there is a program, there is an algorithm that has the times for the moves already locked in, regardless of the news, regardless of the reports on TV, regardless of market sentiment. There is already a plan tomorrow. They are not sending you that plan. As much as you love your zero lag indicator and your bar pattern and your candlesticks and your back tested who's he what's it, they don't care. There is a plan. That's what we believe. And that's what our customers experience every day. This is a weird webinar today. I was in a good groove, Dave, up until that one point, and then I got bumped out of my groove. It was like we were all in Mario Kart going down the road, and then someone hit me with a mushroom. And then that little cart spins around in a circle. That's what I felt like after that. That's all right. It'll be all right. When you're not using predictive signals, you're basically pushing the market the way you want it to go, and it'll never work. This is what I've experienced with most people. And Kelly, I'm in a way, I'm sad for you because I already know you're not going to buy this. You're going to think about how much trouble change is hard for people. Change is really hard. Our brains are constructed to love the way we've always done things. The most popular medication right now is a diabetes drug called Wegovy, and it literally has to turn the part of your brain on that tells you you're full, even if you're not, because we're wired from childhood to sing, what would I do for a Klondike bar? I want a Klondike bar all the time. I remember songs from childhood on Sesame Street that played over and over again. The Electric Company, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm just a bill and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. There'll be a moment in the not too distant future I don't remember my wife's name or who my children are. but I will know all about Oscar the Grouch and Big Bird and Luis and Carla and Mr. Hooper, because our brains are wired to retain information that happens over and over and over again, and we don't want to change. Our customers, the ones that change, when Goldman trades, they trade. When JP trades, their orders go up and down. It pushes their orders. They're not studying them with volume and book maps and support levels and intricate blah, blah, blahs. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10:02. It's 2:46. It's 9:45. No, looks like a short. I'm not going to do it. They're making it look like a short. I'm not going to do it. Waiting and waiting and waiting and boop, 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 boop. Okay, bye. Boop, 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 boop. Ding. 10:02, I'm out. It's easy. But most people, most customers who see this webinar, who see the proof, who were referred by a friend who's using it successfully, their brains won't, it's different. Different is bad. They won't do it. I want to be part of your team. This is such a cheesy PowerPoint, but it's true. I want to support you in your dreams. We've gotten really good at training people, really good at developing this. I am an engineer by background, by genetics. I come from a long line of people who take things and build stuff with them that makes other people's lives better and easier. I was literally born for this. Now, granted, I only held the flashlight for my father for the first 16 years, but then stuff got really interesting after engineering college. I would love if you let me help you. I can help you change. When you change, you generally need someone to bring that extra energy into the decision. I don't want to do it if I'm going to be alone. You're not going to be alone. You're going to be with somebody who's been helping traders achieve their goals for almost 2 decades. On our website, the product that we're talking about is called TachEon Warp. It's our flagship product. It's the #1 product. Don't worry about the other products. Well, what does this one do? Don't worry about it. You need this one first. And most people never get anything other than this one. I'm going to put a link in the chat box. You click on that link in the chat box, it's going to take you to this page. I don't even want you to have to browse to it. That's how much I love you. At the very bottom of the page is a Willy Wonka golden ticket. And when you click on it, that good feeling you had immediately goes away because of the pop-up. I'm sorry about the pop-up. However, there is a live trading room, and it meets Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week from 8 to 12 Eastern time. And we show live setups, entries and exits in popular markets. If you're the kind of person that needs a little hands-on hand-holding, I don't want to do this alone by myself, please explain this, explain that, then this room is for you. Watching someone who's been using the software for years take trades with it can be a very empowering idea generating time. If you're not that kind of person though, hey, I got my own thing, I just want to add the times and know when to use my signals, you don't need it. But if it's there for you and you want to add it to your cart, it's 25% off. It's about normally $200 a month, but it's down to $150 if you get it with your purchase. There's a purchase agreement. This is an indicator for NinjaTrader, so please don't tell me you didn't know that and call PayPal. They never told me it was a NinjaTrader indicator. It's a NinjaTrader indicator, and when you click on this X, you're going to acknowledge that you knew that. Please also don't try to run this on your Commodore 64. You want to have something that has at least a P4 processor and 2 gigabytes of RAM. Otherwise, it's not going to run. Basically, any computer in the last 5 or 6 years will run this software, no problem. Now, when you get here, it is tradition among the gurus to give people an act now bonus. I have been told by marketing people who are better at this than I am that I must give you a promo code so that you will feel obligated to make a decision. If you put in the word WARP OFF with no spaces, all lowercase, it will take $500 off of the price. So Kelly, when you call the guys over at Sierra Charts and say, hey, I want to be polyamorous. I want to love you and NinjaTrader. Well, I thought we were exclusive. The $500 is going to let you get a couple tubs of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, get a nice weighted blanket, maybe one of those smart lights so you can tell Alexa to turn it down a little bit. Just kind of calm down for a day or two, work through the stress of that. You'll still have $400 left over. And then you'll start making money. The promo code takes $500 off. This is a lifetime license. There are no additional fees or charges after that, no upgrade fees, any updates to the software we're going to give them to you. You're also going to have free installation, white glove installation. We'll log on to your computer, Kelly, help you download NinjaTrader. It's free for charting. You can plug in your Interactive Brokers account. You can plug in your TD Ameritrade account. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. You can open an account with them. You can connect your Apex Investing Funded Trader account. Did you know that? Forex.com for Forex. There's all sorts of ways to get data to NinjaTrader. Don't panic. There's a video training archive. Everything you need to know about the software in small, bite-sized 10 to 15-minute chunks. We also have tutoring and mentoring sessions available. I'm meeting with somebody tomorrow, in fact, to go over some questions they have about the software. And we do have a plan. If we're killed in a tragic Buddy Holly airplane accident, we actually have a plan to make sure that everyone gets an unlicensed version of the software so they can continue to make gazillions of dollars if the company closes or if we're killed in a tragic gazelle stampede. So we've thought about everything, I think. Jim, the settings that I was using on the daily chart, I'll write them down here while we're there. It's a good question. I'm using a 1, 2, 3, 0 trading days with a swing strength of 5. A swing strength of 5 on the ES daily. Trading days, 1, 2, 3, 0, swing strength 5. Any other questions? You have a choice tomorrow when you wake up to trade like this guy, predictively, to trade like the other guys, predictively, or to be part of someone's marketing machine, to always be on the edge of success, to always be a subject or subjected to the voices in your head, the ones that get you in too early, get you out too late, move your stops and targets. If you're not trading predictably, my opinion personally, you are part of someone else's plan. You are a data point in the most sophisticated, highest speed algorithms in the world. Someone whose account is there to bleed dry. And it doesn't have to be that way. We pay over $6,000 a year to be part of the Trustpilot program. When you are a Trustpilot program participant, you're not allowed to write your own reviews or fake reviews. You're not allowed to delete bad reviews. The only thing you're allowed to do is write a response. Someone gave us 3 stars. The program works. I can't trade all the time. I can only trade 20 minutes before I go to work. 3 stars. Where's the delete button? Delete, delete, delete. It's not there. All I can do is say, hey, man, let me give you some help. And when we did that, and we pay for the privilege of not being able to do anything the other marketing companies do, look what we end up with. And any of you are allowed to write a review. You know it's here, and I'm not afraid of anything you're going to say. I'm not. My very first review was 1 star. Did you know that? If you go to the very first review, there he is. They have N interest in me. I don't even know what that means. Kelly, every one of the people that you see on this have been using the program on NinjaTrader up until yesterday and as early as 15 years ago. What you're doing right now is normal, but it's not helpful. It makes me sad. It's like I can walk on water and then I reach down and I pull the water up and I turn it into wine. And you go, is it a Shiraz though? I only drink Shiraz. Yeah, it's a little aftertaste and I have to eat chocolate after to make it go away. It's unbelievable. Kelly, tomorrow when that move comes, I want you to remember me. I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember what Andy told you. And when you're the only surprised person in the room, you go, geez, did anyone know that was coming? I was out of nowhere. It was a $1,500 move. Just remember, well, Ninja was a little buggy and there's a little bit of a delay. Open Ninja, look at the times, write them down, print them, put them on your wall. It's 2023. If Elon Musk can explode rockets over the Texas shoreline, we can figure this out for you. I would rather not know. Okay. Then just go out and look at the moon in the sky. Maybe that's better for you. You should just do that. Guys, thank you for your time. If you're not convinced by now, there's nothing I can say or do that will convince you. I appreciate all of you. Special treat next week. The moderator of the trading room and customer, longtime friend and customer, Colin Patton, will be doing the webinars for me. He'll be here next Thursday and the Thursday after that while we go on holiday break. So stay tuned for that. You can ask him all sorts of questions. He's going to tell you how he uses Warp and has used Warp to make money consistently year after year. Longtime customer now with us, probably 10 years or more. So great person to pick the brain of, and I hope you're a customer or a prospect alike. Come back next week and you'll get some really fresh insights into how the software might work for you. All right. In my head, I'm saying if they don't believe you by now, they will never believe you. So I'm comfortable with that. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your handsome, beautiful faces. May the valleys rise up to meet you. May the mountains lay low before you. Some of you, you're going to see that mountain and go, nope, I'm staying right here. And that's okay. If you're not ready, you're not ready. But maybe you shouldn't be trading at all. And that's okay too. I've watched a lot of people lose a lot of money, lose their businesses, their families, their children. Some of them lost their freedom. One guy sent me an email a couple months ago. He lost everything on a Netflix trade, everything, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He said, I have a daughter being born this week. I want to take my own life. What? There is an end to this road. Some of you have gotten to the good part. Most of you are on your way towards the bad parts. There is an end to this road. You're one bad trade away from an email to a chubby middle-aged stranger in North Carolina. I want to take my own life. Maybe this isn't for you. And that's okay to admit. I want to just tell people it's okay to stop. Some of you, most of the people I've met that aren't customers are gambling. I get it. Just stop. Take a break. You have permission. Don't do it. Walk away. Talk to people you trust. Sometimes a no to the software is an early warning signal. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this at all. I don't know. I don't know much. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I love you. If you're a customer, thank you for your support. Any questions, Bala, I gave you a hard time earlier. Just email me or Skype me. I'm happy to help you. You know that. You've never asked me something I didn't answer, and I'm not going to start ignoring you now. So I love you too. Same thing for you, Tim. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks. And if you get a call or an email from Dave, please respond. Even if it's just to tell him I'm not interested, we are committed to getting in touch with you to see what you thought and finding a way for you to get on board. So don't ghost him. Just tell him leave you alone. This way we know not to bother you versus you're busy and we missed you. Take care, everyone. I'll see you. Have a great weekend. And for those of you moving forward without us, please be careful. Bye-bye.